Welcome to Worse Than You with Mo Fry Pasick. I'm Mo, and every week I'm asking today's funniest artists how they got their act together. This show isn't about their best or most famous work. It's about the work that means the most to them, their creative process, and why they make their art. This summer, I'm at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival with my stage play Worse Than You, which you should come see. So for our premiere season of the pod, I'm chatting with Fringe headliners. And on today's episode, it is a bonus ep, and I'm checking back in with my sister, my friend, my collaborator, my director across the pond, Sudi Green. Bow, 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 bow.
Hi.
Ready, set, show.
Wow, ready, set, show. How's it going? What's going on?
I mean, right now, what's going on is like, I woke up enough to do my day job, to curl my hair, to do my makeup, to launder my costume, to send emails about a tech thing because someone quit at the venue, and then do this, and then I have the show.
Wow. And how is it doing like literally any life stuff, let alone the fact that you have like a remote job, which I think is interesting to talk about because like a lot of people can't be just an artist unless they have very wealthy parents.
I want to talk about this because there is a veil of mystery around everyone when it's like, and it's money is sensitive, especially if you're in like a bunch of wasps here, but to be like, how are you being here? And a lot of people, have been brought by companies or sponsored or like work to save up, or it's like, but there's so many different things where I'm going, gosh, if I didn't feel like I had like been working a lot or felt supported, the sort of stressful moments like 5 minutes before having to buy a $50 swimsuit because my bottom costume went missing, like those sort of fail-safe moments that you can't plan for would make me feel so drained and like I couldn't do anything else or be around people or even buy a drink, I'm like, I don't have that fear, so I feel like I want to like highlight if anyone does have that fear when even they're making a show in New York or something. Like it is a real stress and it is so hard to work around.
Yeah, I mean, if you have like financial stress on top of anything, it just adds an extra layer. But you have a remote job that you can do from anywhere.
Yes. Yeah, I've been doing my job for 10 years now, and it's been remote for 6, like pre-pandemic. So that is a blessing, but it is also so funny because it's like you don't even realize when you're doing so much physical and emotional work at the Fringe, like how even like halted hours that I do, it's like so much like thought and brain power that I'm like, okay, so I'll do that. And then I need to be able to also send those texts and also do those things. It's like a lot of organizing energy.
I feel like this, I always think this whenever there's like a big project or a big thing that you have to tackle or a really busy time, like other life things don't stop. Like you still have to do laundry. You still have to feed yourself on top of like you're doing a podcast while you're there. That requires a lot of work. You're actually working, that's when the plate gets really, really full.
Exactly. And what makes me laugh though is like, when like actors in LA will be like, no, they'll go through something like hard or like a really poorly managed production. They're like, this is really good practice, for really being on set because, things are difficult, things are crazy. And I've had a couple people have that sort of echo of like, it's kind of like doing a Broadway show. Every single day you do I go, hey, you know what? I don't think Blanche Dubois has to walk out of the theater and then hand out flyers for A Streetcar Named Desire
Yeah.
and then carry the tech from Broadway,
Yeah.
And then she also gets to go home to her cat and have the same food that she's normally able to eat. And then also not have to go out to other Broadway shows to like invite other actor. And so there's this sort of contrived hardship that people are romanticizing. And that part of me, I go, we don't need to do that. We can say this is shit and it doesn't have to be for like, I'm building character.
Yeah. So wait, like talk about that. So like what are the other like hustle elements at Fringe. I think this is something that like probably only the artists know about.
I think the most unique thing is that the folks that come here um, don't really seek out shows unless it is like one of 4 big names, and the rest is done through this thing called flyering. And you print out 800 million little flyers of your show. And I have my little show with a bio on the back that Lauren Mandel and Carmen Kerrigan and we all kind of figured out how to get this made. And so I'm supposed to hand these out to people, right? But then you're also supposed to kind of give a show pitch. And it's like this weird sort of like like, hey, do you like talking about like trauma and overthinking, but a little bit funny, but it's a play. And I know you're getting a lot of stand-up posters, but it's not that. Hope your expectation is normal coming in. Thanks. And then those are how people go to shows, genuinely. So people who flyer, who spend the mornings on the high mile, like the Times Square of Edinburgh, handing out flyers to tourists, almost 100% of the time, that's how they get their audience at all.
Wow.
Because there are 3,000 shows here, people don't know how to get to them. So then when you hand it to them directly, they say, great, that's it. That's the show we're going to. And so that flyering aspect is like so bizarre to me. It's so like, it's helpful and cool and great that people do that right off the bat. But to me, that interpersonal constant sort of selling of self and being like, come see me is literally more exhausting than doing a dramatic play.
Yeah, I wouldn't be good at that either.
You and I would hate it. You and I would be like, I guess come. Like, I'm not, what? If you want to come, you'll come. Like,
it's interesting that you bring up like the elevator pitch of it all, because we were talking about this the other day where you were like, Sudi, they don't think it's funny. They think it's Hamlet.
Yeah.
Our show, it does have like very serious themes and there are very serious moments, but like we've been so thoughtful about just imbuing it with comedy and thinking of it as a comedy as much as possible. And I think that's where like we like to live. We like to live in a place of like, oh, we're laughing, but there's like a dark truth underneath, which is like, you know, that's a lot of things. But that your audiences have just kind of been like, and we're listening and we're here and we're present.
I'm curious is how you received that when I said that, because you know what I realized? So everyone's like, and this is not to be diminishing, but like that's all one people shows or like stand-up shows. It's like, my life was hard, but I laughed, and it's a little bit hard in a different way. Yeah, it's like, yeah, growing up was
really
hard.
Good. Maybe that's what you should say to people when you're flyering. My life was hard, but in a little bit of a different way than the other people.
I'm a little bit not like the other boys, not like the other girls. In a way that I invite you in, but I'm special. So watch me on a stage. And let me tell you, that's the vibe. And bless that vibe, because you get to see, you know, the fact that little bit different is also the same for everybody, and you get to connect more people, and that is cool. But those little bit different, that emotional part in all of these shows, even the more emotional ones that might traverse themes of, you know, racial identity or sexual identity or, you know, abuse, I've found that shows that are pitched as like a comedy about, you know, difficult themes, which is technically what we thought we were, the culture here is joke, 1 second of being like, in all seriousness, I hate it myself. And then back to joke. And so,
not in all seriousness.
No, that is like,
but really, you guys, but really.
And like, I was noticing it with a couple people who was like, they were like, oh, my themes are like pretty sensitive too. And I was like, oh, great, like wonderful. And I thought we were similar. And I'm going, oh no, like mine is constantly throughout talking about the difficult thing, but then making you laugh immediately, versus a stand-up who is making you laugh about a difficult thing the whole time.
Yeah. Or is making you laugh, and then there's like one moment where, you know, you break it down for people. That's interesting, because also, but okay, here was the thought that I had when I was looking at correspondence between Team Worse Than You, which is like, is it better to lead with the like serious themes, or is it better for to lead with the frame story and then people realize the serious themes as they're watching it? To me, there are moments where we like have non-jokey moments throughout the play.
Yeah.
But we don't get to the fucking juice of the trauma until like,
The last moment.
45 minutes in.
Yeah. And then we immediately reward you for having experienced that.
And so like, are people watching it like waiting for the fucking trauma because they're like, this is about a traumatized person? Or should we just pitch it as like, it's a meta take on an eccentric actress who's trying to get through her show and pushing everybody away in the meantime?
Here's my thing, because what we're talking about, I think former podcast Demi Adejuibe does an incredible job of what we're talking about, where it's funny, and that isolated sort of, vulnerability peak that, he's teased at on the pod episode. And then, reward or a delivery on said promises. And so I think that is when it is most excellently done. But it is also making me realize that technically our shows would be pitched under the same sort of idea, but they're totally different. I would consider his a comedy. So contextually, I would say in that comparison, mine and isn't, right? And you and I thought it was in the context
But
of
does it
LA.
matter what other people think it is? I think what matters is what you and I think it is.
No, I disagree. I really disagree.
Well, I guess it's not a comedy if people aren't laughing.
No, they're laughing. They're 100% laughing. But in the same way, you and I were like, we created that gene bit up top to make people comfortable laughing right away.
Yeah.
To know that you should laugh right away. What people do, and I talked to you about this, of how uncomfortable I am seeing the audience because I worry that they'll get triggered, because I think context is so important. Because if somebody goes into a show about trauma not knowing that, then they're not even listening to you. They're trying to figure out in their body why their nervous system is losing it.
Right.
And so I'm like, I would rather say to people, and we've always joked about this, like the low bar for like a joke in a very serious theater space. And not to judge the theater spaces, but when we come from comedy, it's like, and so I think it is better to say like, this is a serious play and I'm funny as fuck, versus the nuance that we know it to be of like, we have created a comedy that, tactfully covers trauma and abuse.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's like so hard to think about how to translate. And I think this is something that we both struggle with. And we talked about this on the last pod, that we've like haven't ever really agreed or said the same things about when people ask us what the play is about. It is hard too when there like literally does need to be a trigger warning, and like the themes, because they're about, assault against women, or they're about assault. They're terrifyingly universal. So that is a bummer of it, but it's also why it's important.
It is. But I'm curious, are you shocked that that's how it's received here? Or are you like, oh, that seems right? Like,
I'm not shocked, because I think the first time we did the play in LA, the number one thing I asked people was like, did you feel like you could laugh? Or did you feel like we were sitting in moments of sadness? Were we sitting in scary moments too much? Because you and I didn't want to be like self-indulgent. We didn't want to be like self-flagellating about it. We just wanted to like say the thing and then, get to the truth of it. And people were like, no. But I don't know. I mean, audiences bring in their experiences and to everything. And I'm not surprised, because it was a thought in my head. I actually think that we were lucky that a lot of our audiences, and maybe it's just because also, we perform for at least some of our friends at every performance that like understand us and our tone.
yeah, I think that might be it.
Yeah.
Because I think it really has really made me understand the importance of expectation. And you know, my guy Darren Brown, showman, he talks about, you know, setting up expectation when you're doing a trick. That way you can really deliver because people have an awareness. And if you set up an expectation that benefits you, the audience is completely wowed. So
That's why I'm like, barring like, you know, needing a trigger warning for people who are ready to see a play with like these themes. Like, that's why I argue that like the nuance and the meat, the underbelly of the play is the traumatic stuff that happened to this character.
mhm,
But 80% of the time, 90% of the time, the funny part,
it's
for
jokes.
lack of a better term, is to see how neurotic she is. And, you know, the way the structure of the play is like you're seeing examples of how she exists in the world today and then slowly peeling away the layers and looking at the core of why she's existing this way. But a
Yes.
lot of it is just like, oh, this extremely neurotic, nuanced, specific woman existing in the world and being crazy on a hinge date, challenging her therapist and, you know, avoiding talking about the real thing in her acting class, performing monologues for her therapist, telling off everybody at group therapy. That's the meat of it.
Well, I 100% agree. And I think that's also one of the best notes we've ever gotten at any performance is after the very first performance. We had created this, you know, character that was neurotic. And then Albertina Rizzo, our baby girl, was like, hey, I need to see her interact with people outside of like intimate like relationships, like therapy or a date.
Yeah.
And so that's
She
why
was
we
like,
wrote,
let's see her in public
yes, she said, let's
more.
see her in public. And that's why we wrote the group therapy scene. And I think that scene gets sort of like, you know, obviously the performance of it people enjoy, but it gets noted as like the big dog sort of scene the most because you see her try and struggle with like, I'm so cool and I actually have an awareness of identity and, you know, like cultural appropriation. And also, you fucking, I'm smarter than you. Ah! Like, she's fully whiplashing herself throughout that whole
Mhm.
scene and seeing it in the world. And to me, that's all so funny, even if it's at a group therapy, you know, for sexual assault survival or whatever it is.
Mhm. I also was thinking like there's a difference between this is maybe the thing that we're like not good at. And I think especially, I don't want to frame it as not good at,
Whatever.
but I would say especially Morgan, my literal princess, sometimes this kind of thing comes up of like there's a difference between what is literally happening and marketing as well. And the elevator pitch or when you're talking to people, you need to be thinking more, and it's like a movie trailer. You know what I mean? It's like you want to tantalize and bring people in and make them curious and not tell them
No,
what happens
no,
in the movie.
pisses me off.
And that's why I was thinking where I was like, I love like the marketing that we do or the way that like we'll do synopses where we drop these references that are so fun, which is like, you know, bad hinge dates,
Yeah.
Captain America, masturbating to your own Instagram feed, giant Hitachi vibrators, all of these fun elements that are in the play. Like, I think that should be the thing that
We sell.
is like, I wish that the elevator pitch was like, she catches herself masturbating to her own Instagram feed, and then it pretty much
Goes from there. See, I've gotten, and you've helped me with that. I've gotten better at like accepting that, like, that sort of reductive or marketing pitch
Mhm.
isn't, you know, capitalism taking my art away. But I also think, like, at the same time,
It's not capitalism. We're not making any money.
yeah, that's so true. Okay, it's actually not capitalism if you don't make money. Rule of culture.
It's also, it links interestingly to a theme in your life and then also a theme that's in the play, which is having to be understood
Yes.
completely.
Yes. Yeah. Because also what that does is it goes both ways. And this isn't represented in the play. I think it's easy to just take it in the play of being like she feels misunderstood. But I think in my real life, it's more so like if I don't understand the context, I will get it wrong and I will misunderstand and I will mess up. Because I'll be like, oh, I'll literally think you're this. And then I'll be like, oh. So it's this like need for someone to tell me the context so I can understand them. Because otherwise, if you say, you know, you're something, I will believe you and I will know that for its larger cultural context. So it's like, I don't know what a good example.
The thing is like the play is the thing, right? If somebody sees the play is fully set up and written to communicate and this big nuanced idea and to give you a feeling. It's just like, how do you get them in the seat to have that experience? And we can't explain the play in 2 sentences. Otherwise,
it's not a play.
Then you wouldn't have play. You would just say the 2 sentences.
That's exactly how I feel. And I think you and I, like our powers combined, we have so well created a feeling within this piece. Like, you know what I mean? Like the feeling of being misunderstood, the feeling of going fast. Like, and I'm so proud of that. And like, oh my God, you would have laughed so hard because I got so mad. I didn't get to tell you this yet. This person had on their poster a credit. It was like, that's what you do here, right? It's like stand-up shows. It's like, right now it's like Mo Fry Pasek, HBO's Hacks or something. And you know I have issues with that where I'm like, well, you're like, it. And so then, but then this person.
You gotta get over that.
Well, this person identified themselves as having worked at a major institution that my best friend and director worked at. And I go, oh, wait. Oh, you wrote there. Because I don't know your face. So I'm going, you wrote there. And then this individual was like, oh, no. I was like, ooh. And like, bless, they're doing the right thing. But they were like, no, I just like, you know, like it was like they did a little gig on the side for something. And I was like, so now you get to say, because you technically got a paycheck from that giant entity that people use as an affirmation, that's on your post.
You can say it. You can say SNL.
Well, I'm actually literally trying to protect this individual. What's their fine? A lot of people have credited themselves as part of SNL. It
doesn't matter. They're not doing anything illegal or wrong.
I know, but it really frustrates me because then I'm going like, but you're not.
Yeah, but like, do you think the audience gives a shit? Like, to me, it's like, so Mo has this thing about people claiming credits.
Well, it came from the
you
Succession podcast.
You were just an extra in that thing. Or like, you know.
Which is not to minimize that.
No, exactly. This is my feeling on it. Get butts in seats. I don't ever begrudge anybody for getting butts in seats. I don't ever begrudge somebody for taking a small experience that they had on a big, cool thing that people recognize and making it so that you can leverage it to get to the next thing. That's like literally how it works.
That's also how Fringe
And I think
feels.
that's something that like a big institution like SNL or being able to have like HBO or whatever on your program, it's like just if that helps somebody get a little air of legitimacy and then get a butt in the seat to like see their thing, you can't do that to the end. You know what I mean? Eventually somebody has to put their butt in a seat and see you and think that you're good and talented, and then that will rise people. I don't think it's
That's true.
You know what I mean? It's just a small thing that people can throw around. And I would say that, like, you know, the nuance of how somebody contributed to like a big institution or a big show or whatever, that doesn't really matter. What matters is that like they got in the door and that they were there, and maybe they fucking rocked it down, and maybe they were there for years, and maybe that they were a star of a big show, or maybe they were just like there and did their thing for like a day and they're going to ride that credit into the wind. Who cares?
I agree with you. I really do.
It's such a funny thing. I know you agree with me, but before you've gotten mad about it,
for doing it for me,
get mad about.
No, I get mad when we do it for me. When we say that, like I'm like, don't tell people that I'm not from that. You know what I mean? Like, or when like if I don't know. I feel like if I know people at an institution or their work, I'm like, oh, they've earned that title of like that. And so I personally don't.
Maybe they haven't. Maybe they haven't earned it. Maybe they're a Nepo baby.
Well, you can.
who's not that talented.
Nepo babies can earn stuff. I just know it is a personal thing, and I have gotten mad or confused, like when everyone kept being like the girl from Succession's podcast, and I'm going, okay, the girl from Succession is the redhead, and then all of a sudden I listened, and it was like, no,
Oh, you're talking about Red Scare.
it was always pitched to me as the girl from Succession's podcast. So then when I listened, I was like, this isn't the redhead. This is what? And then everyone was like, no, just one of the girls was on Succession. I was like, that is such a distinct difference.
Nobody else is thinking that.
I know, and this is
That's
where
my
I got.
literal
This was
princess.
literally the mad thing we talked about, and I wonder where else this plays out, and probably hinders me. And I probably could be actually the most famous person and actor that's ever existed by now had I not have this.
I feel like when I was younger, I cared about this stuff because I thought it mattered. And now as I'm older, I'm like, nothing matters. Because if you are good and you are talented,
I agree.
that is the reason why you're going to continue to get opportunities. It's not going to be because you had one line on a big
Hacks.
show and then put that on your poster. All that's going to do is maybe get somebody to sit down in a seat and watch your thing. And I think that's a good thing.
It's a good reminder to hear because, again, I love it when other people do it. I'm almost jealous because it's an integrity thing where I'm like, I don't feel I have earned that label.
What is earned though? Either no, a lot of people haven't earned things. Like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like for every person
But that's a personal
who has
code of ethics.
busted their ass and gone up the ladder and like earned it, there's a person who like booked a big thing on their first audition. You know, like I don't know. Struggle doesn't really like beget. It's not a direct line between struggle and,
as being actually a part of a certain team, like having contributed and sort of been not just using a name where other people are giving and devoting their art and their time. And I waltzed in, and it's a personal code of ethics that I think has a flaw and needs to be worked on for me, for sure.
I have a friend who said this, which is like, it's so much easier to, I'm paraphrasing, but they were basically like, it's so much easier to be famous or pursue fame. Not that we're really pursuing fame, but fame as like a moniker for like to be known for what you're doing. Mm-hmm. It's so much easier if you don't think about it. Just don't think about it deeply. Like, because like that's why so many people that are extremely successful, they're like kind of missing a chip in their brain. They're not self-aware. Self-awareness is such a trap.
It's a disease. It's a disease. It's literally because it's like if somebody else,
it's like you have to be Delulu.
Well, if I didn't know, if somebody else was like, here's a play about masturbation, I'd be like, what? And they got people, I go, whatever. But if I'm the one having to approve it, I'm like, I can't do that. Oh. It's a disease, and I just need to get a chip removed from my brain, and I need to get.
Do you think it's because of the need to be understood?
Not for
completely.
1 single second. No, it is a deep discomfort with this idea that I have to brand or advertise myself for you to want to engage with my art or creative output, and then also to align myself with work that I haven't done, which is like when you say I was a part of this cast, to me, those people are working hard. That is their art. That is their idea. And for me to be like, me too. I genuinely, as a personal integrity thing, think that is disrespectful. And I know you say earned, whatever, but like to what that thing actually is to me. And so I feel very uncomfortable. Not only like it's fine to say I'm Mo from Comedy Central or whatever on a thing. I don't really like need people to understand that I'm not this or that. But as far as the relationships I have with those identities or entities, I want to honor that more. And it makes me uncomfortable just, walking around saying I did all this work that I think and I really respect that I didn't do.
So it's the thought that somebody who was like, somebody's saying, oh, I was putting SNL on their poster and they maybe didn't work there for more
because
than a day.
I know my best friend works her ass off and her whole life has been devoted to that. And And, all of her art and life goes into that. And a little part of me goes, and I don't mean it as a judgment of this person because I agree with you, but a little part of me goes like, that means something to say SNL. I know what it means personally, having watched this happen. So it frustrates me a little that people just say it and use it. And I'm going, oh, gosh.
Yeah. I think I've just accepted that there's no nuance on a poster. Like, there's just not. There's no nuance in a bio.
But also, like, where does the line hit then? Because then, you, me, and ER have talked about, like, the entitled sort of, cishet white guy in Hollywood that's like, I'm a director, hasn't done shit in his life, but then all of a sudden gets a job off that.
I don't know. Like, I guess I'm of two minds about it, which is like, of course it would, I don't know. I think that the idea of what people have earned, I think, is a bit of a trap, because I think women especially, or like non-het men, feel like if they do the steps, then they're legitimate.
Yeah, that's true. That's
versus just coming in and getting something. And people get opportunities for a lot of different reasons. I mean, that's not up to me.
Yeah.
Why people get opportunities. And so I feel like we live in a world where instead of being mad at, which I am pissed off at, the underqualified male's overconfidence. I am pissed at that.
So well, that is what it is.
We live in a world
so concisely
where
said that.
You have to have the audacity and the confidence of that person, because the rules don't matter. The earning something doesn't matter. Like, it may benefit you, the hard work that you've put in, the training that you've put in, the experiences that you've set up for yourself, the learning that you've set up for yourself. It's going to benefit you. But at the end of the day, that might be the thing that gets you in the door, and it really might not.
But it also likely will be. Faking it and being that, it likely will be the thing that gets you in the door.
You have to do a combo. Like, in improv, they say act as if. And when I was like young and I was in these rooms that I'd never been in before, I acted as if I belonged there.
Act like you've been here before.
And eventually it worked.
Oh my God, it's 2:50. Okay, I actually have to go act like I've acted before. And well, I do have to run. Wait, I felt like that conversation was like interesting, and I feel like it was supposed to be a quick check-in, but now we're talking about cool stuff that I want to keep talking about. Well, we will do more of these check-ins where Sudi and I, which kind of like, it's why we're the most interesting people who've ever lived, because it's like we can just be talking about our day, and then all of a sudden we're talking about like identity, worth, climbing the ladder, society, and that's so powerful. Sud, I love you. I miss you. Your presence is felt in Scotland, and I can't wait to check in again on the pod and just in life. Miss you.
I miss you.
I can't wait to hug your beautiful face again.
I miss you, and I can't wait for you to see what color my hair is in real life.
Oh, I'm missing out on so many milestones. Okay. Thanks, guys. I love you. Tune in again. Bye. Worse Than You with Mo Fry-Pasek is hosted by me, Mo Fry-Pasek. You can learn more about this week's guest and the Worse Than You team by checking out the show and episode copy. It's on your phone, the thing you are touching so often. Sanitize it, my God. For more on our journey to the fringe and to buy tickets to Worse Than You, the stage play, which, excuse me, let's do that, head to worsethanYouPlay.com and make sure to follow us on Instagram. I know you're scrolling constantly, and, well, it's the least you could do. Worse Than You with Mo Fry-Pasek is produced by Disco Nap and Kinahora Productions. Oh my God, you're so pretty. Okay, Sudi at 6 a.m. said to me, it's not letting me toggle.
Hate to break it to you, babe, but I put on mascara at 5:45 for you.
Listen, baby, you need to know what it's like to be a pageant girl. A pageant girl put it on to go to sleep, you know what I mean?